All right, guys, let's get started here. So my name is Rob Dipiero. I am the general manager for Exit Realty Specialists here in St. John, New Brunswick, and in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I've been a licensed real estate agent since 2016. And from 2018 to 2020, I worked on a team that did a lot of internet leads, so Realtor.ca leads, Facebook leads, and just leads from the internet. So I had a lot of training on client relationship managers from that, and a lot of experience from that. And then in 2020, I started creating my own leads through Facebook and Instagram using a service that we have here at Exit called the Exit Ad Center. And basically, through generating those leads and working with online leads, I learned about CRMs through trial and error. So a lot of the things that I share with you here today have been through trial and error and through the pain of my experience. But also a lot of it is just from things that people taught me as well. So I've had a lot of great coaches and top performers all over North America help me and guide me through some of these strategies. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. A few things that we're not going to talk about. I just ask that you guys leave all your questions to the end. I'll try and get done in 45 minutes. I know we're a little bit late getting started here. I'll try and keep questions to the end, and then I'll do questions kind of at the end. If you guys want to write anything in the chat, we can go to them at the end. And some of the things that we're not going to talk about specific CRMs. This is stuff that you guys can do with basically anything through your phone, through a CRM that you use, through a database. If you want to know the CRM that I use, I'll tell you at the end. But these are basic things that you can do with any CRM. We're not going to go through the settings or anything like that of a specific CRM. This is just basically strategies that you can use within that CRM. So I love this quote here. Your network is your net worth. It's an awesome quote. I was thinking about it the other day. And the thing that I love about this is we all have our database, but essentially our network is directly tied to our financial success and our business success. And the bigger our network is and the more that we engage with people in our network is ultimately what leads to, in real estate, more sales and in turn, more money, more listings, et cetera, et cetera. So focusing on your network is basically what this is all about. And we're going to teach you some of the strategies through the CRM. Now, with a database, with any database, which is just essentially a list of everybody that you know, there are a few problems that exist with having that database. It can be very, very overwhelming. Oftentimes we have these lists of hundreds or sometimes even thousands of people. And I know some of you have been in the business for a long time. So, you have these huge lists of people and it's overwhelming. Like, what do I do with all of this list? Some of the problems that we have is that they're so unorganized, or they're unorganized that we don't even know how to leverage them. With our database, one of the problems that we have is even when we reach out to people, with the contacts that we do get, people don't respond back to us. And then the last thing is that we don't even know what information is important. So we're going to talk about how to solve those problems here today. Here's a quote that I absolutely love. And for those of you who were in Halifax last week at our regional retreat, Kelly Sitter had this quote up here, and I love this quote. I'd heard her say it a few months ago, but it's, Rome wasn't built in a day, it was built every day. And I love that quote because, if you guys are thinking after this that you're going to spend the next 8 hours just powering through, getting all of this done and getting everything set up, you can do that, but it's honestly, it's just, I find it so exhausting for people that after you have like the 8-hour power session, you might not go into your database again for a week or a month, or that's not what this is all about. So all you really need is to be in your database for a very short time, consistently every day. I always suggest 15 to 20 minutes a day consistently. I'd rather see that than really an intense like 8 hours or something like that you don't even want to go in there afterwards. So consistency always beats intensity. It always beats intensity. And what I want for you guys is I just want you to be able to go in 5 days next week for 20 minutes and just work on your database. And after a week or 2 weeks or a month, you'll have this flourishing database that you can go into and start picking sales out of. I love that quote. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about three things. We're going to solve three problems. Very first thing is how to organize your database. The second thing is I'm going to teach you what a spear message is. It's a strategy on messaging. Then we're going to talk about how to create your own market with something that's called the shadow market. So let's talk about the very first one there, organizing your database. We talked about a couple problems before this and what some of the problems are. And here's essentially what the problems are with organizing your database. The very first thing is that there's so much data in there, it's overwhelming, like we talked about before. It's not adequately segmented, so it's really just not organized into lists so that you can go in there and effectively go into those lists and pull things out of it. So it's not organized. It's just a big, huge list of names and phone numbers and everything that's, you might even need some of the things in there. With those things, what we're doing is we're potentially missing up opportunities to follow up with people. And just overall, we don't know what to do with it. No one teaches this. No one talks about what to do with your database. They just tell us we have a database, but we don't really know what to do. So we'll talk about that here. How do you organize your database? I love this quote as well here. Simple scales, complex fails. All right, so we're going to go through some very, very simple strategies. If you get anything out of this meeting here today, the one thing that I want to make sure that you do get out of it is that this very first topic that we're going to talk about here is just organizing your database so that you actually go in there and you use it. And then we'll do some more advanced stuff after that. So every CRM that I know of, and I've interviewed a whole bunch of them and I've seen a whole bunch of them, essentially has a feature where you can create lists in your CRM, a list from all your database. So what I want everybody here to do is I want you to make these 4 basic lists here within your CRM. And I want it to be, as soon as you log in, you see these lists. As soon as you log in, you see these lists, because the whole idea is the more that you see them, the more that you're going to track them. The more that you track them, the more that you're going to manage them. But there's 4 lists that you need. The first list is your buyers list. You need a list of all of the active buyers that you have, all of the buying potential clients that you have. We need a sellers list. We need an investors list. And most importantly, we need the past client list, which is the list that I don't know if we forget about it, but we just don't really do much with it. But we need a strategy around a past clients list as well. So let's just take a minute here and talk about, because I've been having conversations with people here in our brokerage. And one of the things that I really struggled with this as well, is this sellers list here. And it took me a while to wrap my mind around on who goes on a sellers list, because I was always just waiting for somebody to tell me that they wanted to sell. But I want to change your thinking on that here today. The people who belong on a seller's list are anyone that has a property to sell, anyone who owns an asset. Now, they may not be selling right away, but they're a potential lead on somebody that needs to sell. And we should have a list with them, and we should build our messaging towards them around where they are in the stage. But what that really means is if you have a buyer who has a property that's closing tomorrow, they don't own the property. Tomorrow, when that property closes, they're actually a selling lead now, okay? They have an asset, and we have some people that have been on here for quite a long time. Have you ever sold a house and 3 months later they call you and they want to list it because they're moving back to, Halifax or Victoria or something like that? Happens, right? But have you ever been in the same scenario where you take a buyer out, they buy a home, you think that everything went really, really well, they're really, really happy with you, and 3 months later you see that listing come up with another listing agent? Like, it hurts, doesn't it, right? Well, that's our fault. We should have followed up with them. We should have treated them like a past client. We should have really treated them as a potential seller lead. So very first thing I want you guys to do is I want you to organize your lists with these people in it. These lists here: a buyer list, a seller list, an investor list, and a past client list. Now, some of the more advanced lists that you can do after you've done that is you can do these lists right here. We have the lead, the prospect, an engaged list, an active list, and a closed list. And essentially, you would do these lists along with your buyer, seller, investor, and past client. But these lists here are going to align more with the sales funnel. Okay, so the sales funnel, I have a picture of it here, and you'll notice the sales funnel. This is an analogy for the journey that a client takes through the process of buying or selling a home. So at the top of the funnel, it's the widest, and at the bottom, it's the smallest. And the reason that it's at the widest at the top is because this is where most people are. Okay. And as we go through the sales funnel and as it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, we have less people in those stages. So by aligning our lists with the stages in the sales funnel, what happens is it actually allows us to track where people are in the journey of buying or selling, so that we can, not forget about them, but so that we can also change our messaging and create our messaging to them based off of where they are in the stage. So in order to put people on the stage, the thing that we need definitions for what each stage is. So the very first stage at the top here, this lead stage, these are simply people that just know that you're in real estate. It might have been a realtor.ca lead. They might have inquired about a home. It might be somebody that you met at a networking event. It might be somebody that you met door knocking. They simply just know that you exist, okay? They might not even remember you. Well, they met you at one point, right? They simply know that you exist. And I find a lot of people think and treat all people in the same stage, but it's not true. We need to define them. The next stage in the sales funnel, just below that, is the prospect stage. And people in the prospect stage, they have all the criteria of the stage before them, but these people also have a criteria of being diligent and competent. And essentially what that means is they want to move and they have money. All right. So diligent means that they want to move. Competent means that they're capable of moving. They have money. They have cash. They can move. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they want you to help them, which is where the next stage comes in. The engage stage has all the criteria of the stages above it, right before it. But these people have verbally told you that they want you to be their agent. They want you to help them buy, sell, or invest. Okay. So they're diligent, they're competent, they know you exist, and they want to work with you. However, you may not have a contract with them. Okay. So you might not have a buyer's contract or a seller's contract with them, which is essentially the ultimate where we want people to be, is always in contract. So in the active stage, just below that, these people meet the criteria of all of the people above them. But these people have written confirmation that they would like for you to represent them. So either that listing agreement that's under contract or a buyer's contract that is signed by them. And in some cases, we have buyers that we take out that may not have an agreement, depending on where you guys are practicing. It might be the law that you need it. It might not be. But these people, they are your clients. They have a signed written contract with them. And then at the bottom of the funnel, the thinnest part here is what we call the loyalty side. I don't really like using the word closed, but the loyalty side, which is they've bought or sold a property with you, they've bought or sold real estate with you, and our job is to make sure that they stay loyal, right? It's just like that past client who relisted with you 3 months later. Our job is to make sure that they stay loyal. They've done it once before. Our goal is to make them do it again and refer people to us. So what's really cool about aligning with the sales funnel is this is what a typical sales funnel is going to look like. And depending on where you are in your career and how long you've been in your career, these numbers are going to be different. These are just example numbers to just give you an idea that at the top of the funnel, it's always going to be the most amount of people, or it should be the most amount of people. And as we work our way down, it's going to, those number of contacts in those stage are most of the time going to be lower and lower and lower. And depending on how long you've been into real estate, your loyalty contacts, the number of contacts you have in your loyalty are going to be what they are. If you've just started, it's going to be, very little. If you've been in real estate for 30 years, it's going to be very, very high. But what's really, really cool about aligning your lists on your CRM with the stage of the sales funnel is that it gives you a better idea of what's going on in your business. And one thing that we know about business, or about life in general, is that we manage what we track. If we don't track things, then we don't manage them. So if I don't know that I have 22 people that are engaged in my service, then I'm just going off of my memory, and I'm going off my memory to follow back up with people. And I'll either forget to follow up with them, or I may not actually think about the messaging that I'm sending them. So by aligning your lists And by seeing on your list how many people are in there, it gives you an idea of how healthy your business is. But it also allows you to, when these numbers down here start to get lower and lower and lower, it allows you to message people on the part of the bigger part of the sales funnel, so that you can push them down, always pushing them down into the bottom of the funnel. So most of your time in real estate, about 80% of your time is spent in these two stages right here, the engaged and the active, and the other 20% should be with your leads, your prospects, and your loyalty. These people, obviously, weren't spending so much of our time with them because we have to make sure we give them our attention to make sure that the transactions take place. The other 20% is with the larger pool. So if you find that you're not spending a lot of time in these two parts of the stages, then it's time to go back and change your messaging and send out messages to the people in the top part of the sphere. So that's just some strategies for you guys on how to organize your database. I've seen people with their database organized with like the call 2 times a week, hot lead, call every month, every 30 days, call once a year. I don't like those because I don't know, it just doesn't give me a good interpretation or a good idea of where people are in the journey of the sales funnel. I like to align with the sales funnel so that I always know what's going on in my business. I love this quote by James Clear. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Man, this keeps me up at night. Like, this one hurts when I read it. Honestly, I get a feeling in my gut because it's so true. Like, we're all so inspired and we think we're going to do all these big things and we have these big goals, but truthfully, it's our systems that set us up for our success. So you guys set up your CRM so that you can succeed. And that is how you do the sales funnel. The silent inbox. Oh my God, what's the silent inbox? I love this. The silent inbox, well, it's essentially our email inbox when we don't send a message right. It's like, you ever go into your inbox and there's like no replies? There's some problems in sending out emails to people. Have you ever gotten a realtor.ca lead? The ones that come in and they just say like, I would like more information on this property. You go in and you spend 35 minutes writing the perfect email back about like how it's got four bedrooms, but it's got a fifth one in the basement that you can't technically call a bedroom, but like if you did if you put a closet in and if you made the window bigger, it could be 5 bedrooms, and it's just so great and you should go and see it. And you spend all this time writing this email and then you hit send and you are ghosted. Right? Yeah, that ever happened to you? Or you send out a message to one of your clients and like they don't even get back to you. There's some strategy around that. So right now, you guys in your inbox right now, you have messages that you've replied to and messages that you've not replied to. So I want you to just get, I guess, like your head around thinking of why did you respond to the ones that you responded to and why did you not respond to the ones that you did not respond to? Oftentimes it's because we respond to the ones that were very well written. So why don't people respond to their emails? Well, the very first one is that they don't even open it in the first place, right? So we know in real estate, the average email open rate is somewhere between 12% and 18%. Okay, and for someone to respond to an email, it's usually around 4%. 4% of emails get responded to. That means if you send out 100 emails, 4 people are going to respond to them, right? Approximately 18 people are even going to read the message. Oftentimes, our emails are too salesy, too markety, too much about us. There's way too much in there. It's not about them. People don't respond to emails because it's simply bad timing, right? Maybe they were putting the kids to sleep, or their boss came in while they were checking their phone and they shouldn't have been checking their phone. They intended to reply to it, but then they just never got the chance to. It's bad timing. People don't respond because sometimes they overanalyze this. And with a good email tool, you'll be able to see how people have gone in and checked their emails. Sometimes you'll see that people have checked an email 36 times and they're analyzing it and they're analyzing it and they're analyzing it. And if we just send them that message back to say, hey, did you get this? They'll actually respond. Or they'll say, oh, geez, I forgot. I was putting the kids to bed. They'll respond. It was bad timing. And then the last one, which is the worst one of all, is that they actually just didn't even know that they were supposed to respond. There was no call to action. We didn't ask them a question. So next, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how to send an email to get a response. And this is the SPEAR message strategy. So SPEAR, I'll leave this up here for a minute here so that you guys can write this down. SPEAR is an acronym. It stands for short, personal email expecting a response. It's a strategy. It's a marketing strategy. And it was invented by, I was taught it by Dan Martell, who's my coach. He learned it from a guy named Dean Jackson. And Dean Jackson is a professional marketer. He's written a book. And in that book, he wrote a part about it on how to write the perfect email so that people actually respond to it. And what he found was that if you kept it really, really short, the response rate came up. So we'll talk about that right now. So SPEAR message, a short personal email expecting a response. Here is the strategy, and here's the theory behind a SPEAR message. What I want you guys to do is I want you to, on your piece of paper, draw a quadrant, draw a line going down your page, draw a line going across your page, and write this in it. The top left, 9W, top right, QF, bottom left, S2O, bottom right, CTA. These are essentially not the steps to, but it's the theory behind doing a SPEAR message. So the very first thing is a 9-word email. The second thing is just having a template of the quick facts around the message that you're sending. Third thing you do is you send to anybody who's opened it but not responded to it. And we always want to make sure that there's a call to action with every single message that we send, which means that it ends in a question. So here's some of the theory, and then we'll go into some of the examples. The theory behind the 9-word campaign. Here's one thing that we know. Statistically, there's been some studies on this. If your email is less than 10 words, then your response rate goes from about 4%, or that means they responded to you. Your response rate goes from about 4% to 40% if it's under 10 words. So you might hear this called the 9-word campaign or the 8-word campaign or the 10-word campaign. The whole point is that it's really, really short. It's really, really short. So with the 9-word campaign, essentially what we want to do is we want to solve a couple problems. The first problem is that we want to get them to open the email. Remember, I told you the response rate of an email is like 12 to 18%. We want them to open the email because they can't respond if they don't open it. So what we know is by using this strategy, it increases that open rate from about 18% to about 60%, just by using this strategy in the subject line. So in the subject line, essentially what I want you to do is I want you to do this. The very first thing is their name, usually capital letters, but it's going to be their name. And with a great CRM tool, you can put in something that I got right here, where it's just going to fill in all the names of all the people that you're going to send it to. It's going to put their name, then you're going to put a space, a forward slash, a space, and then the service or the product that you're offering. Okay, the thing that you're selling. And then in the body, and we'll go through some examples here. In the body, you're just going to keep that very, very short as well. You're going to say, hey, with a good like CRM service. Again, you're going to have a space where you can just put in first name. It's going to put everyone's first name in there. And then you're going to keep a very, very short message with a call to action. So, hey, Jan, I'm doing free CMAs. Do you want one? Question mark. So a lot of times people think like it's not long enough. I didn't tell them enough about the service. And that's exactly why it's perfect. Trust me, your long version, your 3 paragraphs, it's not going to work. It's going to decrease the amount of replies that you get. It just does not work. Okay. Keep it short. That's the whole point. It's more intriguing and people actually respond to it. So you're going to make your email like that. You're going to hit send. And you're going to wait for people to respond. So there's a bunch of different ways that they can respond. You know, obviously they can say, yes, they want the service. They can ask questions around what did you mean about that? They can say, no, they don't want it, or they can not even respond at all. And there's strategies around that as well. So if people do respond and they say, yes, I would like that, or what does that even mean? The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to send them the quick facts. So the quick facts is around that service or around that product that you're selling. Basically just a very, very short message, bullet points, preferably 3 bullet points max on what that means. So for a free CMA, you're just going to say, cool, glad that you like it. This is the way that I would talk. Like, glad that you're interested. A CMAs, people use it for to know what their home is worth in case they want to borrow off their equity, in case they're thinking of making a move, or just if they're just genuinely interested in how much value their upgrades have done in them. It's like bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. And then you're going to end with a call to action. right? A quick question. Do you want one? Or what works best for you, days, evenings, or weekends? The whole point is it's really, really quick. It's not salesy. The whole vibe that we're going for here is like we're buddies. You know what I mean? Like we're like, hey, um, I'm going out and grabbing beers. Do you want them? I'm not like, do you want to go out and grab beers? We're going out to Pepper's Pub at 9 on Thursday, and Jan's going and Fred's going, and we might go over to Fred's house first to watch a little bit of the football game and have a couple beers before, and then we're not quite sure. Do you have? No, it's just like, hey, we're grabbing beers. Do you want one? You wait for them to respond, and then you say, here's the time, here's the date. It's just like, that's the vibe that we're going for. So after you sent the quick facts, remember what I told you before is there's a couple different things that can happen. That's for all the people that responded. We send them the quick facts. But what do we do to all the people who didn't respond? So with most email tools or CRMs, there's a feature in there where you can actually go in and see if people have looked at your emails. So with this, what we're going to do is we're just going to go back. We're going to look at everyone who opened the email, and we're just going to touch them again. Remember, some people didn't reply because their boss caught them, or it was just bad time, their kids started crying, whatever it is, or maybe they just keep reading it over and over and over again. And just by sending them a quick follow-up by saying something like, hey, following up on this, did you get the message? Or just making sure that you still want it, that's going to increase your response rate. This is where all of the money is. I'm telling you right now, like, you'll have so many people respond to this second message. If they've opened the first message, you'll get a whole bunch of sales from it. So third step is sending to opens. Last step, and it's not really a step, but it's just, I want to make sure that I say it because so many times we actually just don't even ask for the business. People don't respond to the emails because they didn't know that they were supposed to. Or the question is in the wrong spot. The question's at the beginning, and then we explain what we want. We have to get used to asking for the order and asking for the business. Ask them to sign up for your service. Ask them to sign up for everything. So all of your emails, this is how you know that you did it right, is all of your emails end in a question mark, right? So, would it make sense if I came over and did a CMA? Would it make sense if I set you up for a nosy neighbor alert? Would it make sense if I set you up for to receive emails? Would it make sense if I brought you an educational tour, which we'll cover here in a minute? Or the other one I like to use is, would you be offended if I did that? What works best for you, days, evenings, weekends? The whole point is a call to action means it ends in a question. This is the theory behind writing the perfect email. Very, very quick. You send the email with the intention of getting a reply. Then you send the quick facts. Then you send to the people who opened but didn't respond. You make sure that there's every email has a question in it. So let's go through some examples here. Here's a spear message here. So that 9-word campaign, you'll notice how short it is here, about doing home equity reports. So if you guys are following Tom Ferry right now, this is blowing up the internet. People asking for home equity reports. Here's the subject line: Jim / home equity report ? Remember, that has to be a question mark. This is going to encourage Jim to open the email. And in the body, you're just going to say something like, hey, Jim, I've been doing home equity audit or home equity reports. Want one? Send. So with your CRM, with a good CRM tool, you'll be able to send this to all of your past clients or your seller clients, right? Anyone who has an asset. And I don't know about you guys, but especially in this market, I'd rather be sitting across from a seller who may not be selling, rather than bringing around a buyer with bad financing who's looking in a price range that they ain't never going to be able to buy in. That's just me. I would love to be in front of home sellers and homeowners talking about selling their asset, asking for referrals, serving them. I'd rather do that than be running around. So that's just a spear message for the home equity report. The spear message for setting people up on neighborhood watch alerts, which basically alerts them every time that a property sells in their neighborhood. Sally, neighborhood watch alerts. You guys see how there's a question mark there, says their name in it. They're gonna be like, what's that? Right? And all of your messaging should be around on like branding things and making things sound interesting and making them curious around it. Like, what's a neighborhood watch alert? In the body, you're going to put something like, hey, Sally, I'm setting up all my past clients for neighborhood watch alerts. You want in? Okay, send. Okay, that's intriguing. It'll provoke curiosity. She'll say yes, no, I don't know what that is, or not respond. And then an example of last spear message is an educational tour. So you guys aren't going to believe this. when I came into real estate, and there's other people here on this call, when I came into real estate, it was actually a buyer's market, and we had a hard time getting buyers out. So one of the ways that I was taught by one of the agents, agent in Fredericton, who is, I think, I don't know if he's the top agent in New Brunswick, but he'd be making $1 million back then a year, was this idea of an educational tour. So you just send, which is basically showing people properties. You just change the phrasing on it. Hey, Barry, I'm doing educational tours this weekend. Do you want one? Right? Send. So you send that out to all of your buyers. It autofills their name where it's supposed to go. And then you see who responds. So that's if you wanted buyer clients. Now, let's talk about basically what can happen when you start sending these spear messages. Here's the strategy behind it. And we'll use Barry as an example with the home, so the educational tours. I send out an educational tour email to Barry saying, hey, Barry, I'm doing educational tours this weekend. Maybe I want some buyers. You want one? And obviously, I'd only send this to good buyers, right? I'm at my good buyers first, based off of where they are in the sales funnel. Barry has a couple different things that he can do when he receives this email. The very first thing is he can say, well, what's that? What's an educational tour? He can say, yeah, I want to do that. He can say, no, I don't want to do that, which is perfectly fine as well. Or he can not respond to it as well. Right? There's 4 things that can happen. So let's work from the right side. So let's just say that Barry says, what's an educational tour? Which is basically what I wanted to do, was start a conversation with him. What I'm going to do is when he says, what's an educational tour? I'm going to send him my quick facts around that. Okay, so that template on what an educational tour is, all the houses don't look the same as they do in the pictures. It's an opportunity for you to learn the price range that you're in. I know what it is. You don't know what it is. I'll point out some things. And it's just an opportunity to go out and see some homes. If Barry says yes to the educational tour, once again, I send him the quick facts. I'll just change that call to action at the end of like, what works best, like, do you want to do it, to, what works best for you, Saturday or Sunday or days, evenings or weekends. I change my call to action based off of his 2 responses there. Now, if I send that spear message to Barry and he says, no, I don't want that, that's cool. We're having a conversation, which is perfect. I'm just having a conversation with somebody. But it's also an opportunity to ask for referrals. Like, do you know anybody who would want to do an educational tour, and ask for referrals? But let's just say we send that message out to Barry and he does not respond. Okay, here's where there's a lot of opportunity. With a good email tool like we talked about, we'll be able to see if Barry opened it or did not open it. Now, let's just say in this case, Barry did open the email, and we saw that he opened it, and he opened it, and he opened it, and he opened it, and he opened it. He opened it like 7 times because he's like, what is this? He doesn't know how to respond, right? Well, with a good email tool and a good CRM, we'll be able to see if he opened it. We'll be able to touch back with him and say, hey, just making sure you got this, or just double checking, just following up to make sure if you got this. Now, if we do that, it can reignite in Barry the conversation. We'll bring it to the top of his emails and give him a chance to respond again. So, he'll be able to go through all those steps of, I don't know what that is, and we'll send him the quick facts. He'll be able to say, yes, I do want it. We'll send him the quick facts with a good call to action at the end. He'll say, no, I don't want it, which we'll be able to ask for the referral, or he just won't respond again. But the whole idea is that there's a strategy behind sending this message. If you're sending it at scale and you're sending it at mass, and I had an agent that did, sent it out to 120 people the other day with the home equity audits that Tom Ferry's doing. They had 5 people message them. 5 people say, yeah, I'm interested in it. That's 5 people that he's going to be sitting at their kitchen table with, talking about real estate. Pretty darn good for me. And I think one of them is maybe potentially thinking of listing. Anyways, maybe he'll say at the end here. This is the theory and the strategy around a spear message, and I just encourage you to use it. If you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. I love that quote by Zig Ziglar. It's so true. The thing that I know about salespeople, and the thing that I've learned about salespeople in my 8 years in sales, is that elite salespeople they study language. So they study what we just talked about here. They study language. They know how to phrase questions to get responses. And they have a process. Professional salespeople follow the process every single time. Doesn't necessarily mean that they get the sale every time. It just means that they have a process, a strategy like we just talked about here. They follow it over and over and over again because they know that it's going to get them more sales. So just consider the spear message. Last problem that we have here in real estate is missing opportunities. Guys, there's a bunch of hidden listings out there. Stop and tell me, have you ever heard someone say, like you're talking to a homeowner and they're like, well, if you bring a buyer, we'd consider selling. We don't want to list, but if you bring a buyer, we consider that. What about, have you ever been in a scenario where they're like, like I want to sell or I would sell, but like all of my friends are realtors and it would be like really awkward for me to just choose one. I'm like really worried. Or like, other professionals that we work with, whether they're mortgage providers or insurance providers or lawyers or inspectors, sometimes it's awkward for them to choose one realtor. They're like, I want to sell, I want to move, but I'm worried it might affect my business. Have you ever gone and done a listing presentation to someone who's just never pulled the trigger? Like they just didn't list for really just no reason at all? You guys aren't going to believe this because we got some people on here that's never experienced a listing not selling. Sometimes people cancel their listings or withdraw their listings, or sometimes they expire without them selling. But there's still some opportunities there. It just wasn't the right time for them, or they became discouraged and they thought they were going to sell. And have you ever had a buyer client say, well, if you know of anything that's coming up, let me know. And it's like, well, if I knew of something that was coming up, I would be telling everybody, or I'd be listing on MLS. Basically, within all of these things, there's huge opportunities out there. Now, we're going to talk about creating your own inventory on something that I call the shadow market, because I like to brand everything because it just, I don't know, creates curiosity. Creating your own market off the market. Now, let me just start off by saying this. I am a licensed real estate agent and I firmly believe in MLS. Okay, I really, really believe in MLS. It is the best thing for a seller. 99.9% of the time, it is the best thing for the seller. That's where they're going to get the best profit. It is best for them. But there are certain scenarios where we do need to take exclusive listings. There are certain scenarios where they're people of interest. And there are certain scenarios that they just need a little extra guidance or a little extra pushes along the way to get to the market. And that's what we're talking about here, is getting people to the market, occasionally selling people 1 or 2 or 3 off market a year for the right people. And what would an extra 1 or 3 sales, what impact would that make in your business, right? So the shadow market, what's the shadow market? The shadow market is another list in your CRM. It's another list, right? And it's a detailed list of all of the opportunities that we just talked about. All of the listings that they're not on the market or they're off the market. But if you paired them up or at least have a conversation, you might sell it off the market, or you might at least get them back on the market, okay? Be the connector. It's good for our business to be connecting people, right? Be the connector. And like I said, bring them back to the market, bring them on the market by using these strategies of just keeping a list, or sell them off the market. So the problem with not having a shadow market list is essentially that you have to use your memory with everything, right? You have to remember everything about the property, everything that they told you, what you told them for price. And like some people here have a photographic memory, I don't. But if you're always going off of your memory, you're just going to miss opportunities. So what I'm encouraging you guys to do is make your own shadow market list of all the properties and all the opportunities that you have out there, so that you can kind of match them up with people off market, bring them back to the market. So who makes the list? Well, hesitant sellers, for one. People that they're thinking of moving, but I don't know, they're hesitant, right? You can offer them to be on your shadow market. You can create curiosity and just find out more about their home, or go do it might just be even the thing that gets you through the door. Talking about the shadow market might be the thing that gets you through the door to get them on MLS. But hesitant sellers can be on it. Pricing appointments, because there's pricing appointments and then there's listing appointments. The people who, if they got the right price, they would sell. Those people can be on it. The awkward situation sellers, the people who it'd be weird for them to choose one realtor because they're friends with a whole bunch of them, or they do business with a whole bunch of them. The people who never actually ended up selling, never end up listing. Anyone that's canceled or expired. Big projects, builders would love to be on this list. All of the big projects that are going on in your area, they don't want all the press that goes along with it. They want things to be done discreetly. So just by making a list and going back and tracking it, you'll be able to kind of match people up with those opportunities. So what details do you need on there? Well, essentially, of course, you need the names of the people, the names of the owners. The more details the more details possible, the better. So if you can get their address, or if you've been there, put the address in there because you won't remember it. The style of home, whether it's a bungalow or a 2-story or a 4-unit or 10-unit or commercial building, whatever it is, numbers of beds, baths, and a price range. Because a lot of times we do these pricing appointments or listing appointments, we tell them a price and then we forget about it. Basically, in this list, you want to document everything so that you can go back to it and connect people. That's the whole idea behind this. Make the connections. I had a whole slide for that. Just make the connections. And you cannot make the connections if you're not tracking things. We just forget. So I love this quote by Albert Einstein. We can't solve problems with the same thinking that we use to create them. We're in a low inventory market. We need to think of creative ways to create our own inventory, build that inventory up, keep people close, and connect people so that we can serve more people, help more people, and ultimately make more sales and increase our profits. So here's what we covered here today. We covered 3 things: how to organize your database. We covered how to send the email so that you actually get a response. We covered how to create your own inventory. If you guys do anything from this whole meeting here today, like I said at the very beginning, please just make those 4 basic lists in your CRM, in your spreadsheet, on your phone if you want to. It doesn't matter. Just make those lists of buyer, seller, investor, and past client so that you can go in and you can track people and see where they are. So a couple things here. I'm offering 2 services after this. The very first one is a 30-minute consultation. So first 3 people that email me, I'll follow up with a 30-minute consultation where we'll just either through Zoom or we'll meet or whatever, and we'll just go through your CRM. And then everyone on this is going to get the second one here, which is just the strategies. Is going to be a PDF and the recording of what we talked about here today so that you can review it. It'll have some of the spear messages and it'll have some of the quick tips in there so that you guys can copy and paste them into your CRM and go ahead and use it. So yeah, thank you for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. My wife says that I can interview myself and I can talk a long time. So good job for sitting there the whole time. And what questions do you have?